Welcome to our live stream of high school sports. Please note that this broadcast is produced by an independent team of sports enthusiasts, and the views, opinions, and commentary expressed are solely those of the commentators and not representative of the schools, teams, or athletes featured. While we strive for accuracy, occasional errors or misstatements may occur. This stream is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the show.
Yeah, come on, let's go. Hey, you ain't never seen nothing like this. Ain't no telling how it might get. It's the hypest right here. High school sports at its finest. So many highlights, you have to rewind it. Hey, Stream City, let me just remind you. The heart of a lion, a team full of fighters. So many stars on the field, it'll blind you. They're giving everything they got till the time's up. Yeah, legends in the making. History is made. We just getting started. You ain't seen a thing. YSN, gotta know the name. They gon' bring the flames. They gon' do their thing. Take it to another level, don't hold back. High school, got a passion and we show that. Got the drive and you know they got the heart. Number one spot for your high school sports. Let's go for the win. Hey.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to YSN Live. DJ Yoakley with you, flying solo today because Anthony had some things to do, and that's all right. Got a great show for you today here on the 2nd of December, 2025, snow day for a lot of people here in the valley, in the region. Hope you're enjoying your snow day, and if you're a parent and you're dealing with a snow day, God help you. God help you. I know that we're feeling the effects of a snow day right now with our 7-year-old who wanted the snow day, but just cannot kind of get off the ground a little bit. So, sorry about that. So it's a big show. Josh Upshire of the Badger Braves basketball team will join us here shortly, momentarily. And looking forward to talking to him because there's been obviously a lot of big names to come through Badger, he being one of them. And he's one of the elite coaches in the area when it comes to basketball. And I'm not just talking about what he can do on the floor. I'm talking about what this gentleman means to the program, means to the district, means to his kids, and certainly means to being a great male role model in their lives. So looking forward to talking to Josh as always, especially with some of the adversity that he's faced and some of the things that he's going through right now in his life, how his kind of arrow and compass has changed over the last 365 days as we head into the basketball season. Looking forward to talking to Josh again, as always, and looking forward to talking to you and making some chatter with you here today because, boy, oh boy, it is it's one of those really interesting times of year because some people kind of still licking their wounds from the fall, and we are supposed to go full tilt into basketball season. We do here at YSN, and we did last night. Lots of great games across the area. Anthony and the crew did a great job of coming up with great storytelling, great articles highlighting our student athletes here in this region. And I can tell you that from our perspective, this is, again, an interesting time of year. It's one of those times of year that you're kind of still in the postseason mode with fall. You know, we're still kind of, I know we don't have any teams left, but the state championships are this weekend for fall football. Basketball, girls started, boys actually started as well. A lot of teams kind of making their way to the starting line for basketball and the other fall sport or the other winter sports right now. So it'll be exciting to see kind of how this materializes. Get ready though, folks. Get ready because this is a long, long season. This is the longest of them all. And obviously with the Thanksgiving holiday, the Christmas holiday, the New Year holiday, all the other ones at the beginning of the year, there's a lot of kind of stoppages and pauses throughout. And then we finally get to the March, when we finally, believe it or not, as the snow falls right now, our first snowfall of the season, March will be here. But it is a marathon to get to. And I know most coaches in basketball say, hey, season really doesn't start until after Christmas holiday, the New Year, stuff like that. You really don't know what you have because most of these athletes are multi-sport athletes, especially where we are. And they're trying to figure out things kind of on the go. It's okay, breaking down some of that bulk that they had for the fall season, and now they're getting into the marathon season of running up and down the floor, the hardwood, and getting into basketball shape, which can take a lot longer sometimes than most people will appreciate or most people will understand because of they just running up and down and up and down and up and down. And especially with the way that basketball is here, there's a lot of cuts and a lot of fast breaks over the last couple of years. We've seen a lot more teams, really getting into the fast break era, I guess you can say, of basketball instead of just, running half court, stopping, and then running plays. A lot of these, these coaches are letting their kids and student athletes be athletic, be who they are. And, if you've got a kid or a student athlete that plays 3-4 sports at the school, yeah, they're probably going to have some athletic ability to do some things when there's some numbers, 2-on-1s and things of that nature. So I appreciate it. I'm not mentally in the basketball realm, but I said it. Eyes are rolling everywhere. But the mental state, I guess, is a better way to put it, of hoops right now. But we're getting there. We're getting there quick. Wrestling is coming. Next week on a Friday, we will have wrestling at noon. This Friday at noon, we have basketball at noon right here on the network. I will be at Lisbon David Anderson High School covering that. And then a little bit of everything in between. So looking forward to all of that and more. Again, Anthony out today with, he's doing some stuff so he can get from A to B with his vehicle situation. So hopefully Anthony is okay and everything goes well with him. I'm getting blown up. I hope people can hear me. Nothing. Okay. So let's talk about some of the things that we kind of discussed yesterday with Greg McAfee here in the house. And one of the biggest things that we discussed were kind of the expectations and understanding. If you're thinking we're going to talk about the parochial versus public stuff, we'll keep that on the shelf for another day. We talked about that enough yesterday. What I'd like to talk about today is the expectations. When you're talking about state champions in high school, when you're talking about national champions in the college ranks, have we been a little bit spoiled over the last couple decades? I'm starting to think so. And here's why. We talked about the YSU stuff yesterday. We talked about the expectations that some people in the media put on head coaches and coaching staffs, and it gets longer. The list got longer yesterday as I was being blown up on not only on social media but across text messages and emails about just continuing the string of not just coaches of calling out college players, which in the NIL era, I think it's not against the rules and it's not, jumping necessarily over the line to do when there are expectations. But when you're talking about guys that aren't necessarily pulling in $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it may be, I think you got to take it a little bit easy. I know a lot of people have expectations, but there's also a fallout at YSU, and something that I hear a lot, probably more than I want to hear, and probably a disgusting amount, is when people talk about going to the next level and playing in the next level, and when they don't get their first offer. So let's say you're holding out for an offer from a Power 5 D1 school, and it doesn't come, and you hear, well, I'll just go walk on at YSU. I'll just go walk on at Kent State. It's not that easy. It's not that easy, and it's not like that anymore. And I don't even know that it was ever like that, unless you're talking about being a tackling dummy. Unless you're talking about being essentially a bullpen catcher, essentially, a scout team player for years. There's a disconnect between parents, families understanding how to get to the next level and making that jump from one level to another. There's also a disconnect, and we've talked about it before, with Division III being this kind of third world, no pun intended, from D3 to third world expectation of, well, you're not really playing college sports. Yes, you are. And playing at Youngstown State is an absolute honor, and I mean, any D1 is an honor and a privilege to play. And there's a lot of players that would really, really put themselves out there and appreciate it had they had the chance. Sometimes it's the build. Sometimes you're not built for that. Sometimes you don't have the grades for that. Sometimes you don't have the character to do and be what it is and what it takes to be a D1 athlete. There's nothing wrong with D2. There's nothing wrong with D3. We've talked about the numbers, the statistics. Only 7% of all players from high school to college, boy, girl, whatever, 7% of high school athletes go to D1, D2, D3, JUCO, whatever it may be, to become an athlete at the next level. That leaves 93% on the bone that will never play another snap, never play another down, never play another play. It's over for 93% of people once that last high school play is achieved. And there are people that don't understand that, okay, if I can go and play college sports and I can go to the next level and get a solid education, a secondary education, then it sets me up better for my life. If you're going, especially if you're going, I could talk to D1s too. If you're going there with an expectation that you're going to be a professional athlete, listen to your coaches in high school, listen to your coaches in college, listen to the people that are trying to give you a leg up. They're not telling you it's not going to happen. They're probably telling you you should have a backup plan. Because out of that 7% of those athletes in college, 1% of those athletes go on to be professional athletes. And even less percent of those percentage are people that are actually going to go and it's going to stick. The majority of those people are not playing domestically. The majority of those athletes are playing overseas and trying to live out their dreams and trying to catch on, just push that sun back up in the sky for one more try, one more chance until they finally get recognized and make their break. So the caveat, the idea of I'm just going to go walk on at YSU, I'm just going to go hang out at Kent State and hopefully the coach sees me in the weight room. It's not there anymore. They're very pointed. They're very calculated on who they can talk to, what they're bringing into their programs, and things of that nature. So if you're out there and you haven't signed yet, and you're a senior and you're sitting there and you're waiting on coaches to come to you, do not hold your breath. You need to go out there and you need to start facilitating conversations. You need to start having some conversations with coaches. You're already behind the 8 ball if you want to play. Probably start in the lower ranks and then see if you can work your way up, put yourself on tape, all of that stuff. So a lot of stuff to break through. Obviously, we're always available to help navigate those conversations. And there's great coaches out there and great recruiters and great people of contact that have been there, done that. So make sure that you're leaning on them. Don't just go on Google and read and believe everything that you read out there, because everybody's situation is different. But just don't be one of those families that if you're sitting there and going, well, this one didn't work out for me, I'm not going to go to Penn State, I'm not going to go to Ohio State, I'll just go and walk on in whatever sport. It just doesn't happen anymore. Walk-ons are not really a thing, and they haven't been for a while. If you talk about walk-ons, you're talking about preferred walk-ons and things like that. So we'll get into that discussion a little later, but I don't want to leave my main man hanging too long in the background. Ladies and gentlemen, this time we roll out the Badger red carpet for a gentleman I've known for quite some time, a gentleman who has changed lives in the basketball game, knows more basketball, and has forgotten more basketball than I will ever know. Ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the Badger Braves, Josh Upshire.
What's up, DJ? How are you?
Better now, man. I was tap dancing for a while there. Anthony kind of ditched me on the in the final hour. He's like, Josh is coming, so you kind of have fun. Here it is. So I had to come up with a game plan. I've been talking nonsense for about 15 minutes. So thank you for bailing me out, brother.
No problem.
Man, I got to tell you, obviously, you're one of the best to do it, and you're a very humble man, and you're never going to sit there and pat yourself on the back for what you've done and what you're doing. But I got to tell you, what you've been able to do at Badger, some of the names that have come across, and very brave, proud. Obviously, for you, what is it about coaching the basketball and being a teacher there obviously helps, but what is it about this time of year that really takes you to that next level? You really notch up, not that you're ever down a peg or two, but you always take it to that next level. You're excited, not just for Badger, but certainly every team, because you've been there, you've done that, you've played it, you've coached it. What is it about this time of year that you know and love?
First and foremost, for me, it's about the community. Being able to provide a winner for the community is important to me. Growing up here, going to Badger, graduating from Badger, playing there, I love when our kids go out and compete and they represent the name on the front of that jersey, and they do it really well. We have plenty of compliments that I've got, how respectful our young men are. I take pride in that, knowing that our kids do it the right way. It's that stuff like that's important to me, to know that, we're going out there, we're representing our community, our families the right way.
Obviously, when it comes to doing things the right way, it takes some smacks on the hand. It takes some knowing the difference between 6 inches of a pat on the back and a kick in the what. So talk to me about your experience as a coach. When did you become comfortable in your own skin a little bit? There's a lot of coaches that try to be someone they're not. There's a lot of coaches that, are having trouble sometimes, obviously, in the beginning stages of coaching, whether it be assistant or head coaching, of really finding who they are. When did you find your style of coaching, your style of leadership, and how has it made you a better coach by identifying that?
I'd say that the time where I figured I wanted to for sure be a head coach was when I was coaching Ursuline under Keith Gunther. He gave me the reins of the offense. I was able to put my footprint on the offense, and we had some success there. We went to the regional championship my second to last year there. We had a good season, so I think that's when I knew that I wanted to become a head coach, but I wanted to make sure the timing was right, the place was right. It just so happened that Badger came a couple years after I had left Ursuline. We had our first child, my son. So I took a step back, a year or two, and then decided that it was time for me to try and become a head coach. So the timing worked out perfect for Badger, and the rest is history, they say.
You mentioned your beautiful family, that I love seeing constantly. Dude, talk to me about how it changed you, becoming a dad, becoming a husband, all that stuff, and leading these young men onto the hardwood. How did you approach things before, and how do you approach things now that you've got a beautiful family?
Before I was a little more animated, I guess we could say, on the sideline. But knowing that my wife is in the stands and my daughter and my son are watching me, so I'm not quite as animated as I once was. I still compete. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm still out there to compete, but I'm nowhere near as animated as I was when I first became a head coach. But those things have taught me. Little eyes are watching, so I want to make sure that I'm setting a perfect example for my kids who are watching, and my student athletes who are watching from the sidelines. So, I know those eyes are watching, and, I tell my players that all the time, whether you want it to be or not, they're always watching you, and you want to make sure you're setting the right example for everybody.
I think one of the biggest things that has always impressed me, Josh, about you is you've had players come up through your program. You've coached players before that are incredible talents, but they're always team guys first.
Mm-hmm.
What is that say about not just your coaching, but about their coachability, especially at Badger, when you're talking about the Duncan Moyes and people of that nature? They're always team guys first. When you interview them, they're talking about their teammates, they're talking about their family, their coaching staffs, and never want to talk necessarily about themselves. How do you educate those players coming up to be team guys first? Because in today's kind of climate, it's not always easy.
For me, I feel like I have a small play in that, a small role in that. I feel like the parents of the players that I've had have been awesome. This is my 10th year. So my 10 years, the parents have been, very helpful in ensuring that, what I'm saying on the floor at practice, we're reiterating that at home. And, I'm sure there's stuff said, that I don't know about, but I feel like the parents have had my back in my 10 years, and that just helps, with that cohesiveness on and off the floor. And I think it shows with us. We're, as you said, we're all team players, and we want to ensure that everybody's succeeding out there. And I think we do a really good job of that. So again, I think it starts at home. I feel like the parents have done a really good job of, making sure that the team comes first.
Hard to believe it's been 10 years, man. Honestly, it's been crazy. Talk to me about year 1, year 10, the expectations for you, for your team, walking through those doors in the first game, and now year 10, a decade of the Badger Braves under Josh Upshire. Talk to me about your expectations, how they've changed along the way.
The expectations always stay the same. You want to win a league first and foremost. You always want to have that opportunity to play for a district championship and win that. Sometimes I don't think people understand how hard it is to win a district championship. How hard it is to go undefeated. My son just asked me that the other day about going undefeated, and I said, I don't think sometimes people realize how tough it is to go undefeated. Especially in a small school like we have. Our class sizes are 30 to 35. So, at any point when you get sick, injured, anything like that, it's tough. It's tough. But expectations, like I said, they've stayed the same. In year 1, obviously, your expectations are like I said, to win a league in a district. Obviously you want to win a state championship, but you realize, you got to be realistic in goals and things like that. So, I always set mine with district level first, and then we go from there. When the tournament comes, our motto is one day at a time. So, we try and take it one day at a time and see how it goes.
Let's talk about the goals for this team this year in 2025, 2026. Give us some of the guys that we're going to hear about throughout the season. Some of your big playmakers, some of the guys that maybe are your grinders, so to speak, the ones that we're going to obviously be recognizing, because we love doing that here for the hard work and dedication it takes. Who are some of those guys, and who do you expect stepping up for you here in 25, 26?
Well, I know this is going to be hard to believe, especially for as long as you guys have been covering us. We don't have any bigs this year. You guys are used to us having 6'4", 6'5". We have nobody like that this year. Our tallest kid is 6'2", Jack Harnett, who has, the change in his approach to the game from last year to this year has been unbelievable. He's done a great job in the weight room. He's put on a lot of muscle. Expectations are for him to be one of our leading scorers and rebounders and being able to finish around the rim. Another one, Alt Wincheck, who is our leading returning scorer. Both are juniors, but Alton is another one who has done a very good job. Another kid who's lived in the weight room this off season. It's funny getting text messages from coaches like when they see us, like, "Coach, you aren't lying that your kids have lived in the weight room this off season." So they've done a very good job with that, and their leadership has been above average, I'll say. Then we have our seniors with Lewis Flowers, who, if you ever have a chance to watch Lewis Flowers, excuse me, he's a kid who's everywhere. Plays 32 minutes a game for us, usually guarding the other team's best player. We rely on him to bring the ball up the floor for us, score. And he does it for 32 minutes a night. I've never once seen the kid run out of energy. My best reference for Lou is when Quinn Kwasniak at Cornerstone Christian, who is now the all-time leading scorer, we played them in the district championship a few years ago, and Lou had to guard him the entire night and run around and chase him. And I don't think Lou ever got tired. I never seen him get tired. Great kid, great leader for us. Another one is Tyler McWilliams, is another starter for us. Another kid who is 6'2", shooter for us, rebounds well. We're expecting big things from Ty. And then our fifth starter is Brody Shea, who is another junior. Brody was off last year. He actually tore his meniscus golfing, so he wasn't able to play for us last year. He came back out this year. The first game against Brookfield last Wednesday, he did a phenomenal job for us. Made a couple threes for us. So, then we get to our bench, which isn't as deep as it usually is, but we have a senior in Kyle Richards who we're looking for Kyle to make some shots and rebound the basketball for us. We have a freshman in Slater Stanhope who was a beast on the boards the other night, had a couple and ones. We're looking for big things from him, especially as a freshman. And then we have another sophomore, Wyatt Webb, who, when you see him, is not the biggest kid out there, but he has a lot of heart and gets after it. And we're hoping that he's able to do some good things for us when he's on the court for us. So we go about 8 or 9 deep, and like I said, we try to stay out of foul trouble, injuries, sickness. We're hoping that avoids us this year.
It's interesting. You said that, you're going to have to change things up a little bit. How challenging is it to have no bigs? Do you have to change your system, or do you just kind of hope that the guys can adapt to the system with just a few inches shorter?
We run the same system. We don't really change a whole lot. We just ensure that, now that we're a little bit shorter, we're going to have to rebound a little bit better. More guys getting to the glass for us. We don't have the Cole or Carter Burnett or Duncan Moy under there to own the boards for us. So we're going to need everybody to step up and fill in for us more this year.
You mentioned about you guys being in the weight room a lot more this year. They live there. Yeah. For people who don't know, Badger doesn't have a football team. So it's one of those situations where you're like the main event. Everybody waits for Badger basketball to begin. Yeah. Talk me through the community and how it's different, because, we started the show with people still kind of having that still appetite for fall sports, for football and things of that nature. And you guys have been, basketball on the mind literally since it ended last season. What's it like for you to kind of walk into that spotlight and kind of be like, okay, guys, this is what we've been waiting for? Because you have obviously guys that play other sports, but for the most part, these are guys that are basketball priority number one.
Yeah. It's great. I always love when, it's getting close to basketball season, and you always see the people in the community, and their first question when they see me is, how's the team going to be this year?
Yep.
So yeah. I mean, even with the rough season last year, and that wasn't up to our expectations, but we put the time in this off season, and that's always the first question. So we know that the community is there to support us, and we're always putting in our best effort to make sure that we're giving our best effort out there on the court, and make it a product that people want to come watch us.
What do you think is going to be the calling card for the Braves here in 25-26?
For me, it's starting defensively. Watching a lot of film in the offseason, our defense wasn't as good as it has been in the past. So I focused a lot this year in the offseason on defense. Wasn't nearly as good on Wednesday night. But again, we got in a little bit of foul trouble that hurt us. So we're going to try and put our hat on the defensive end this year, and make that become a lot better, and make that transition into our offense this year.
You mentioned the bench isn't as deep as it usually is. You guys are running 8, 9, 10 guys total. Walk me through how you make that a strength as opposed to a weakness.
Continuous skill work. We did. I love I love learning. Like, I'll never stop learning as a basketball coach. We go to coaching. My staff and I go to coaching clinics when they're available to us. We watch a bunch of podcasts. We're sending stuff back and forth. My coaching staff we never stop learning. We're always learning things. And our biggest thing in this off season was making sure that our skill work is getting better. I don't feel like our skill work is up to par. So we put a bunch of time in this off season with skill work. We went to the Ohio High School Basketball Coach Association coaching clinic. They had a couple of the best trainers in the world there. We learned some things from them. So we've implemented that, and the kids have been real receptive to it. And I feel like our skill level is getting up there. So, we continue. First 30 minutes of our practice every day is skill work. Like I said, I felt like that was a big thing for us to make sure that we got better at. So we implemented that for the first 30 minutes of practice every day. And I feel like, that skill work's getting better and better every day. So that's what we're, to build the bench where you need to be, or even your starters, like, I think the skill work needs to be there.
One more question for you, brother. This one might be the toughest because I know you, and obviously I know kind of what the stuff that you've been going through. Being a leader, being a coach, being a teacher, an educator, however you want to classify yourself in all of that, your job is to make sure that these kids have a shoulder to cry on, to be a leader, to have a role model to look up to set an example. It's often challenging being a leader and having to go through life and acting like nothing happens, right? To continue like everything's okay. You just had a key loss in your family, which we're still praying and thoughts with you for the loss of your mom. How do you take that moment and use it as a teaching moment for your kids, whether it's your student athletes, your students, or just your own kids, your own family, that you want to prioritize it, but you have to move on from it and learn from it?
And after the Brookfield game, I told our kids, I said, never think that there's always tomorrow. I said, after what had happened, I had told them that, go visit family members that you haven't seen for a while, because, I was the type who, hey, there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. So my message after the game on Wednesday was, we were going to have a big break. So, go see a family member you hadn't seen in a while. Go see grandparents. Go see somebody that you haven't seen for a while. Spend time with them, because, you may think that there's tomorrow, but nothing's ever promised tomorrow. So go see that person and spend time with them, because, at the end of the day, that's all they want, just to spend time with you. So, just spreading that message, because, like I said, I was the type who, and, my mom was one and my grandma are one who always tell me to slow down. Like, you're doing too much. you know, and I'm always, hey, there's always tomorrow. You know, I'll go see my mom tomorrow. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. So that, like I said, that was my message after the game on Wednesday.
Incredible, man. I'm proud of you. It's not easy, especially in the midst of everything that you're dealing with right now. Keep doing you. You're one of the best to do it, man. You know how we feel about you, and obviously your brother always to me. So thank you for everything that you do for Badger. Thank you for everything you've done to escalate the game of basketball here in the region and YSN. You, my friend, are in for great things, and I firmly believe that. So thank you for being with us today, because like you said,
sir.
there's no guarantees tomorrow, pal. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you, DJ.
You got it, pal. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Badger Braves basketball team, head coach Joshua Upshire. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Absolute legend. And for more reasons than I can ever peg here on a public platform. But I will tell you that Josh Upshire is the kind of guy that I would want my son being led by, because he has everything in perspective. He has everything. He puts his kids first, his student athletes first, his students first. In every category of life, Josh Upshire is a above average, if not great, human being. It's never an easy question when someone's going through loss, but there's something that someone can learn from that question, whether it's his student athletes, whether it's someone watching YSN right now, is that we have to stop dehumanizing coaches. You know, coaches are not robots. They are not AI. They are real people with real problems, with real situations, with real lives. And we have to make sure that we know, they know that we care as well, whether that's the media, whether that's families, officials, coaches get the most hate during a season because why isn't my kid playing? Why isn't my kid? I mean, you can add teachers into that too. And then the majority of coaches are teachers as well. So that's kind of a double whammy against them. So I will say that be kind, understand that, as much as you think these people, the majority of them don't care or don't give one crap about your kid. There's two sides to every story. And you need to understand too, that you're not at practice. You're not seeing what they're seeing, and they're probably not taking it out on your kid. There's a lot of times that maybe your kid is not putting in the effort or doing the time, studying, putting in the time in the weight room, like we just talked to Josh about from a workout standpoint. Coaches need a little bit of grace, a lot of bit of patience with where we are today. And I had a conversation with a guy the other day, going back to the kind of the recruiting, what we were talking about before Josh came on. Coaches, high school coaches specifically, are not supposed to be the ones that put your kid into college. And I think there's a misconception there. I don't know how they used to do it. I know that my coach wasn't the one in high school that said, hey, maybe you should start looking at it. I think he asked me once, hey, what are your thoughts? I'd like to go play baseball somewhere, understanding that I'm not going to get drafted most likely, and understanding that I'm probably going to use baseball as a platform to do other things, to have, friends there, essentially. And most people, coaches do not, in high school, coaches are not responsible for getting your kid recruited at the next level. Parents are, I don't know where that came from. I don't know if there's coaches that did it, again, back in the 90s. That's not the way it goes today. And especially high school coaches, because high school coaches a lot of times are the ones that are getting paid by, 10 cents an hour for as much time as they put in with student athletes. Don't get me wrong. There's coaches that will do it on their own out of the goodness of their heart. Whether it's for them, their program, their student athletes, to be able to point to and say, hey, maybe you should start looking. Maybe they use a connection that they have at the next level. But the reality is it's not a responsibility of the high school coach to get you recruited. It's the responsibility a lot of times of the player, of the student athlete, to start going to camps, to start sending out, tape and things of that nature. Camps are the most important thing, at least in my eyes. And I'm not Mark Porter, who knows literally everything. He is the genius when it comes to scouting, especially specifically when it comes to football. But he knows more about kind of that connection and the recruitment aspect of it. What I can tell you is what I know, and that is, if you think that someone's going to help you and you're holding your breath, then you're probably going to pass out. I mean, it's too competitive out there. And I think that coaches can get, and probably have been, pointed out and pointed to as, well, you're showing favoritism to this kid and not this kid, when one kid has the ability and one kid maybe doesn't, and it gets you in a little bit of hot water. So if you're out there and you think that a high school coach is going to get you recruited to specifically a D1 school, I think you need to have a tough conversation with the man in the mirror, or the woman in the mirror, in some different perspectives. Because I think right now, if we're being completely honest, this is the toughest era in history to be recruited from high school to Division I on the fly. And what I mean by on the fly is, you're not going to have very many Nick Sabans, Jim Tressels, Ryan Days, Lane Kiffins sitting in many high school living rooms making that pitch, because quite honestly, they'd rather be in the transfer portal pulling out a 20-year-old, 21-year-old that they know. They're not, again, I know I've said this before, there's a coach, many coaches actually, at the next level that I've talked to, that said, I don't want to babysit an 18-year-old that is homesick for mommy and daddy, and I'm not gonna do it. I'd much rather jump in and take my chances in the portal and pull out a player that I know is comfortable with leaving home. They're comfortable being independent on their own, things of that nature. So if you're talking to your student athlete, you're talking to your parents. If you're a student athlete watching this, you need to start understanding kind of the way that things go. And I'm not telling you it's not possible. I'm telling you it's not likely. And there's a difference in that. And understanding that doing your chores, doing your homework, your grades matter more than ever. Also, being exceptional, being coachable, all these things that coaches are trying to teach you right now. They're not trying to do it because they want you to run laps and they want to yell at you and they want to talk sternly to you. They're doing it because they are trying to educate you on what it's going to take at the next level. It's not, you're not in a scenario anymore when you get to college that it's a choice. You get to college and it's a privilege. It's a job. We talked about it yesterday. Your coach is not your science teacher. Your coach is not your history teacher. Your coach is there because it's dubs and L's. It's wins and losses. She's expected to win for the program, for the college, for the university, for the alumni, for the donors, for the sponsors. You look at these $1 million buildings, millions of dollars of buildings on campuses. They don't get there by mistake. And it's a situation where everybody's happier writing checks when a program or a school is winning across the board, not just in one program or another. And I think most people lose that because you go from having 30 kids in youth sports when they're growing up and they're 8U, and then you have 15 kids at 10U. At 12U, you have 8 kids. High school, you have 6 kids. in a class. I mean, it can whittle down that fast. And don't get me wrong, there are some classes that stick together. There's a class that is taking 40 football players from 8th grade to high school next year in this area. And that's not the first time we've seen it. Now, will they whittle down? It remains to be seen. But what I'm trying to get at is, as a parent, you sit there and you go, oh, okay. And you go from protecting those 30 kids at 8U to now you're just looking over the 6 kids their senior year. And then you're really just looking after one kid who you've been looking after the entire time and making sure that they get everything under the sun that's coming to them. And there's a lot of times that we can be slighted or feel slighted that they didn't get X, Y, or Z. We've talked about the postseason awards, how they are incredibly political. We'll save that for another time again. But it's one of those things that parents need to focus in on, is understanding that it gets harder every single level. Because your kid is a great 8U baseball player, basketball player, flag football player, Pop Warner, volleyball, whatever it may be, right? It's whatever. Does not mean that they are going to be great, and that doesn't mean that they're going to be good the whole way out. There are going to be challenges. We all go through them. We all go through them. And I think as parents, as onlookers, you forget. High school sports is one of the most incredible things, because you could be the best player on the court, but if you had a bad day, you're not a professional up here. You haven't battled the adversity of that life has for you in most cases. You're sitting there, and guess what? If your girlfriend breaks up with you, your boyfriend breaks up with you, if you're having a bad day, it will most likely carry out onto that court with you. It will carry out onto the field with you. It will carry out all these things because you're not able to compartmentalize the way that most people do. You haven't been taught that. That's not established at an early age. That's something that you have to learn by time management, by understanding how you work personally, all that stuff. Usually 14-year-olds don't have that. 18-year-olds don't have that most times. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also terrible because the expectations that we put on these high school athletes nowadays is more than ever before. The spotlight, and hey, looking right in the mirror, we're responsible for that. The spotlight that we put on kids is more intense. It's brighter than it's ever been. There has to be a grace to this. There has to be a grace in the media. There has to be a grace in social media, which is so hard. So hard. Because as we talked about yesterday, there are people on social media that feel like they have a voice. They say what they mean. They mean what they say. And what they say is very mean. And now we're expecting even younger than 14-year-olds to understand that their best effort on any given night is not good enough. And to be able to internalize that. It's tough. It's a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge. It's a challenge for a 30, 40-year-old. I can't imagine the challenge that some of these student athletes face when people talk about them like they're professionals in a negative way. And I'm not saying we do everything right or wrong, but I know that when we created this platform, it was because sports are fun. They're exciting. And they're a big part of everybody's life who's in them. And when you have situations like we saw yesterday, whether it be a coach, whether it be a player, that's not the first rodeo that we've seen You have to be very careful when you're talking about kids, when you're talking about someone's kid, in the light that you put them in. I mean, it is stressed incredibly in our broadcast instructional classes. We don't want to sit there. I never want to hear anybody talk poorly about a student athlete, on the air especially, but even off the air, it can get sketchy. They're kids. And I think parents put an expectation, like kids can't have bad days. If you've ever been a parent, you understand, as a parent that has a lot of bad days, there are bad days that happen. There are tough days that happen. Not even necessarily bad days. There's just tough days. And you struggle through them. You're just trying to get to that finish line, like army crawling at the end of the night, just trying to get to your own bed and start over again tomorrow. And oh, by the way, it's just Monday. Then you get to Tuesday, to Wednesday. All that. I mean, we have to remember, whether your kid is looking at playing at the next level, whether you're a student athlete looking at playing the next level, it's okay to have a bad day. It's not an excuse to have it continue. And there's players out there, and this is the time of year that's really challenging. People need to remember this in the back of their minds as well. All these essays, all these applications for college are due pretty much now. So these colleges can make their decision. So these student athletes or students can make their can make their proper decisions. There are rejection letters. Those are not easy to swallow. For some of these students, the schools that they're applying to are some of the biggest dreams that they'll ever have. And some of them will get in, and it'll be the most exciting thing of their life. And it'll be unbelievable. A moment that every parent, that every student yearns for, lives for, has been waiting for. And you'll see it on social media, and you'll see it everywhere. And there's moments of just frustration, moments of incredible doubt when you get it, and it's, I regret to inform you, or we regret to inform you. But it's not it's not a situation where everybody, I didn't live that. Even with the terrible grades that I had, I only applied to a certain number of schools. And the schools that I applied to, thank God, I was able to get in. But there are people whose dreams will be, hopefully, momentarily dashed, to which what they can get back on the horse and ride. But I think it's any situation, and it's not jealousy, it's not envy, it's a situation that we need to be cognizant of. And we can sit and talk to, whether you're a teacher talking to a student, whether you're a coach talking to a student athlete, no matter where you are in life as a leader, being able to understand, that some folks are not going to be able to live out their dream in that situation. And it echoes into the athletic world when you wanted to play for a team at the next level and it's just not happening. It's not coming. There's that realization period that everybody goes through. And I guess what I'm trying to get to is that if you are a parent out there of someone who has that realization period, and it hurts and it sucks and it's the worst than any basketball shot you'll miss, worse than any strikeout, worse than any fourth down non-conversion, just be there. Be there for your friends. Be there for your student athletes. Be there for your son, your daughter, whoever it may be, because you push them to the limit. You push them as hard as you can go. And obviously you worked hard on your side to get them to where you wanted them to be and they wanted to be. So you were learning, and Josh was talking about all the podcasts he watches, and coaches are influencers as well. And we have to be leaders in the classroom, on the court, on the field, wherever. Adversity is going to strike. No matter what you're going through, it's going to strike. It's how you respond, how you react to that adversity, which is going to write who you are as in your character. And that's the toughest thing that I think sports brought to me over the years, and I hope it brings it to you gently. I hope you don't have some of these harsh realizations that some of us have to go through, but you will have to deal with them. Parents will have to deal with them in their own way. Coaches will have to deal with them in their own way. But understand, student athletes are kids. And sometimes they don't know how to compartmentalize those feelings. So we have to show them. Long way of getting back to why I thought that was important to ask Josh that last question. When you deal with loss, some loss is way more challenging than others. A loss of a parent, loss of a friend, loss of a loved one is way more than failing a spelling test or a history test or whatever. I mean, but there's still challenges in both of those. Not equal, but in dealing with adversity, dealing with what you're dealing with, it's an opportunity to learn how to deal with bigger adversities, which you will have to deal with eventually. Being let down, it's tough. It sucks. It's the worst. And this is a pretty tough show if you're watching. But understanding that sports allows you to learn how to deal with adversity better most times than others. It's not always, you're not always going to win. You're not always going to be in the winner's circle. You're not always going to hold the trophy. Sometimes you won't even come close. But it's the ability to learn from your mistakes, the ability to learn from your loss, whatever that looks like, that will put you closer to that trophy, that will put you in the winner's circle, that will put you in the opportunity to be an influencer, a winner, whatever that looks like to you, however that looks like to you. And I think that's the angle that parents need to be, coaches need to be pushing, is that. I don't care if my son, my daughter ever goes D1. I could care less. I could care less if they play sports. What I care about is that they give their all in whatever they do. If Z wants to be an archaeologist, I hope he's the best archaeologist there is, that there ever was. He's the Bret Hart of archaeologists. I hope that if my daughter decides that she's going to be a teacher, a nurse, whatever she wants to be, it's not up to me, it's up to her. I hope and just pray that she's the best one that she can possibly be. I'm not telling you how to parent. I'm not telling you how to coach. But if you're looking to influence, that's how you influence. Make sure they're the best. Josh talked about hanging his hat on this defense. Well, guess what? If he doesn't have the offense, that defense better be there. If he doesn't have the height, that defense better be there. You better keep people off the scoreboard. There's ways to adjust the sails and to create a better life, to be a better person, to be a better coach, to be a better athlete, to be a better worker, employee, employer, whoever it may be, whatever it may be. You be the best, and I promise you that the people that want to be their best will follow you through that. Sports is a gateway, 100%. It's a gateway for great employers, great leaders, great employees, great people going through adversity, right? If you're winning everything at a young age, you're going to think at varsity that it's just a given. And then when you get punched in the mouth and you got to deal with adversity, it gets real tough and uncomfortable. For all of you out there, I hope that you never have to go through adversity. But inevitably, when you do, I hope that you have enough that you've gone through already that you can deal with the bigger ones down the road. That's how you win. You learn to lose, and then you learn to win. It's enough for today. It's enough. This is why Anthony needs to be back on the show so I don't have to go on tangents about life and stuff like that. I hope you had a good time today. I hope you can appreciate some of the things we talked about. Thank you to Josh Upshire for stopping by from the Badger Braves basketball team, head coach. You can see the Braves out there all over on YSN. So, and basketball's here, folks. We had a lot last night. We've got a decent amount. I don't know. Based on the snow day, I don't know what's still going on. I think I saw Boardman, if I'm not mistaken. That game is still on. So we will have an updated list of what we are going to be at. And if it's not a game that you want, get out to that game. Get out to that game. Let us know what happened. We want to be able to tell the story if we're not able to get there. Some of our guys are coming from all different directions. So it's a challenge some days. So I thank you for spending the last hour or so with me. Greatly appreciated. Hopefully the show is a little better tomorrow. It is Wrestling Wednesday, week 1 with Gary Altizer. Anthony will be back, hopefully, and Gary Altizer will be here as well. I will see everybody on Thursday, and hey, we'll be better tomorrow. We'll be better tomorrow, and as I always tell Anthony, may the sports be with you. Have a great Tuesday. Stay dry. Go out and play in the snow. Have some fun. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow right here on YSN. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of your sports network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.